Hello, everyone. My name is Cameron Martin, and I'm currently in my master's program at GCU University, where I'm getting my master's degree in secondary education. I'm going to be talking about to you the differences and similarities between initiatives and referendums, kind of how they're created, the pros and cons to each, and how they apply to the Arizona State Constitution, as well as our federal government and U.S. government. So, the initiative is a legislative proposal that originates with the people. It is a proposal of a new law or amendment that is initiated by citizens and submitted to the legislature for a vote. Now there are referendums, which allows the people to state their opinion on laws that have been enacted by the legislature. It is a measure submitted by the government to the people for approval. So the creation of these initiatives and or referendums. So initiatives are started through seven different ways, which are citizen petitions, which is a number of voters petitioned to involve a popular vote on a proposed law or amendment, direct initiatives, indirect initiatives, executive orders, legislative proposals, funding programs, and then public awareness campaigns. So those are all the ways that initiatives can be started or brought to light. Now we're going to talk about the creation of referendums. So there are obligatory or optional referendums where voters express their wishes with regard to government policy or proposed legislation. There's initiatives in the referendums where citizens can place legislation on the ballot for a referendum or popular vote, either enacting a new legislation or voting down existing legislation. And then there is the practice of direct democracy, referendums, how that's created, and citizens now have the power to make decisions on important issues directly rather than through elected representatives. So the U.S. citizens get more of a voice to express their opinions and bring light to concerns. So these are the similarities between initiatives and referendums, and both are a direct form of democracy that empowers citizens to influence legislature. So you see that Americans are able to practice their freedoms and their rights, and they both require a majority vote to pass, allowing the electorate to have a direct say in important policy decisions. The differences, there are slightly few more differences than similarities between initiatives and referendums. So the first difference is the origin, where initiatives originate from citizens who gather signatures to propose changes, and then there's referendum originates from the government, where they're referred to the elected officials for approval/rejection. Initiative citizens must collect signatures within a certain time frame to put on the ballot. If it is successful, then the initiative is voted directly by the electorate. So this is kind of how the process of how they are started are different. And there's referendum, where the government places the law or policy on the ballot for voters to decide and doesn't require signatures. So no signature is required there. And they serve kind of different purposes as well, where initiatives allows citizens to bypass legislation and propose new laws and amendments addressing issues that may not be prioritized by elected officials. And then referendum kind of serves as a check and balance on the legislator and allows voters to approve or reject current laws. So these are kind of the pros and cons of initiatives and referendums. So the pros, they foster direct democracy participation. So again, we're seeing the citizens and the people really have a say in their government, and in the U.S. Constitution it says "we the people." So they're really practicing those progressive era kind of practices. And then they want to promote the other pros: equality. Government intervention can address inequality and poverty. So these are kind of the cons now. Um, Tyranny of the majority. So majority groups may restrict minority rights. So therefore, if a population is more white or black or whatever race, they may sway the issues a little more and kind of leave out those minority groups that are in that area. Distortion, which is special interest groups can influence perceptions. So these people are really influential. They're really good at what they say. They know what they're saying. It's almost like rhetoric. They really are able to make people believe one thing and kind of raise that awareness, even though it might be misinformation. and that was for initiative. So now the pros and cons of referendum. The pros are promotes direct democracy again, reflects the will of the public, promotes political engagement, can clarify public opinion, and checks on government power. So again, similar pros for the referendum, and the cons are oversimplification of complex issues, and kind of what that means is like you have these complex issues, and it boils down to like a yes or no, and that can be kind of an issue because it doesn't take into account all the extra detail that's being uh, brought to light in those bills and laws and things like that. Influence of misinformation, again, similar things. Special interest groups can come in, talk, and really sway people. Potential for polarization, and then can undermine the role of the elected representatives. So therefore, these people are put into power for a certain reason to do their job, and they do it well. And sometimes, if people have too much of a say, then what's the point of them being there and being experts on what they have to talk about? All right, so the role in direct democracy, obviously in the state of Arizona, initiatives and representatives support the incentives in the progress ideology laid out in the Arizona Constitution. They allow citizens to participate directly in the legislative process by initiatives and referendums. This allows citizens direct involvement in the decisions in the state of Arizona. So, therefore, um, they're practicing these real progressive ideas, promotes direct democracy, really gives more power to the people and have a say in what goes on in their state. And that's kind of how the Arizona Constitution practices referendums and things like that.